Hello and welcome to the Gifts of Wisdom Summit. I'm Sarah Jane. I have my co-author and co-host with me, David McLeod, and we are going to be working with our also co-author shortly, and David will introduce her. This is featuring conversations from the authors of the newly published book, Gifts of Wisdom, Practices for Healing and Empowerment by David D. McLeod, released last month. Be sure to grab your copy on Amazon. See the link below in this video. This incredible collection showcases 22 authors who each share their inspiring stories and powerful practices to empower and uplift. The topic of this program, this conversation, is the magical benefits of inside-out living. These are times of great change. The biggest change we all need to make is correcting what we have been taught. Almost everyone has been taught to live from the outside in, when in fact, the most effective way to live is from the inside out. Why? And how do we do this? We do not need to go outside of ourselves to find love. Stop being angry with somebody, end loneliness, or get over trauma. Ilene discusses how to work with these 4 issues when practicing inside out living, including what makes this way of living more effective, lasting, satisfying, and joyful. David.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm delighted to be here as always. And you know, I'm just so impressed with all of the authors that we have in our collective. I mean, just some absolutely brilliant people. And Ilene Dillon is absolutely right up there with all of them. She is the author of chapter 12, which is called Relationship Power, Wisdom for Creating a Longer, Healthier, and Happier Life. And Ilene is someone who has lived it. She knows what this is all about. For many years, Ilene Dillon, who's a MSW, which I don't even know what that stands for, Master of Social Work. Is that what that stands for? Ah, there we go. Well, she has been helping people, including herself, to create the lives they really want to live. A deep and innovative thinker, risk taker, and learner, Ilene has developed profoundly effective systems for realigning with anger, consciously parenting children, and living fearlessly. These systems can lead to permanently healing early life wounds. A recovered angry person herself, Ilene helps people to partner with their emotions, using them as they are designed to work for us. Welcome, Ilene, and thank you so much for being here today. I'm thrilled to have you.
Thank you. I'm really grateful to be here and to be the subject of one of these wonderful interviews. I've been in your place a few times now, and I hope we have as incredible a conversation as I've been privileged to be a part of with the other authors in Gifts of Wisdom.
Oh, I have no doubt it's going to be amazing.
Ilene, it's a pleasure to be sharing space with you again. What was the greatest gift or surprise during the Gifts of Wisdom process for you?
Well, you know, Sarah, I was looking for, was I surprised? I don't get surprised too much anymore, but I realized there was a wonderful gift. I've been a therapist now for 53 years, and especially in the last few years, probably since COVID started, I've been aware that many of the people who come to work with me are scared about what's been happening in the world because the world has been falling apart. Now, I know that you have to fall apart before you can put things back together again, so I think it's a normal process. But the one thing, and I've been telling people, listen, it's all happening the way it's supposed to, and there are people in the world working on this and so forth. The gift that I got was getting in contact with those people, many of those people. I know there are many more, but those people who are working on the ascension process, the next level around the world, throughout the English-speaking world. I mean, we have people from New Zealand and Ireland and Canada and the United Kingdom, yourself, and the US, just to name a few. And all of those people, my fellow authors, we're all working to heal ourselves and then share what we've learned with other people in the world. They're out there. That's the biggest gift that I've gotten, for sure. I know a lot of them now.
That's really wonderful. And I think you're absolutely right. There's some amazing, beautiful people here who have shared some wonderful, wonderful gifts. And I guess what I'd like to know is, what is it that you right now in this moment are really excited to share with the audience that's paying attention to these videos?
Wow. Wow. I didn't prepare this, but what just jumped into my mind is joy for living. That even though we are in a time of breaking apart, uh, it depends on what you focus on. As we just talked about in another interview, whatever you're focusing on is where you're going to. And let me just give you an example. Friday, I had jury duty in Northern California, and it turned out I didn't have to report at a place to provide my jury duty. I could do it online just to report. And the judge gets there and she's got 200 plus people to go through to qualify whether you're going to be on this case, or this case. And the day started at 9 in the morning and it went on and on and on. And she never called my name. And other people were interrupting her. I was busy thinking that was kind of rude, but she was very polite and took care of them. But eventually, when she hadn't called my name in 4 hours, I decided to ask if she had called my name, and she said no. And the second I retreated from that inquiry, I realized, oh, I have a very busy schedule coming up. I have things to offer people in this world. And I'm not being called because I'm not going to have to do jury duty. And I'm being taken care of. And that's exactly what happened. We got through all the people, and they said, if your name wasn't called, you're finished for the year. And so I can now do my work, which is sharing what I've learned with the world without having to interrupt it for 3, 4, or 6 weeks, which was what was on the table.
Right, right. That's beautiful. But I mean, in terms of today's conversation, what is it that you'd really, really like to share with us?
Well, the whole issue of living from the inside out is so important. And we have actually been taught to live from the outside in. And what I mean
Right.
by that is that just to use the idea of love, for example, if I want to be in a relationship or love somebody, essentially living from the outside in, I have to go find this person somewhere in the world. And someday my prince will come and all of this kind
Right.
of stuff. And what I've discovered is that when I go out looking for somebody to love me or to be in a loving relationship with me, I'm telling I'm telling myself that I'm missing something. I'm
Mm,
missing the love that I want from somebody, and I have to go look for it. And guess what that does?
mm,
When and if I do find somebody, since like attracts like, I find another person who's missing love.
mm,
And think about how many relationships we all know about where people are missing something and expecting the other person to fill in for them, and the other person either doesn't have it or they don't want to give it. And, when I first got connected with my husband, a neurosurgeon, Dr. Fink, Bob, He took 4 years to ask me to marry him, and I was okay with that. I wasn't looking for a marriage partner, but he talked about it all the time. So I asked him one day, "What is keeping you from moving forward? You've been talking about this for about 3.5 years." And he said, "Well, you're asking me to change so much." And I said, "Well, I have told you that I can't hang with a person who smokes cigarettes, and I understand that that would be a big change, but I don't think I've asked you for anything else." "Oh," he said, "you've asked me so many things." I said, "Can you name one?" And he said, "Yes, you're asking me to become fully conscious. That's what." And that was my reaction too. I said, "That's a bad thing?" You see, it wasn't that he was withholding from me. It was he was different than me. And here, if I'm expecting him to fill my gaps, he's not going to do it. I'm going to be dissatisfied. My life is not going to work well. Fortunately, I wasn't expecting him to be fully conscious.
That's beautiful.
I absolutely love that. I really do. And being fully conscious is so much of a benefit to people, but people are scared of it because it's a change. It's different from what we are used to. Our learned behaviors don't have us free thinking. And I think that's what and of course, what you're asking people to do is, I don't like the word change. You're asking people is to grow beyond where they are now. And there's so much going on in the world. There's so many changes going on in the world that aren't necessarily growth. Sort of. So, how easy do you think it's? Well, not easy. What suggestions can you make to people to help them on the steps through that growth?
Okay, well, let me start with what I have learned over the years is that we're all in a big giant school. We came to this world in order to learn and grow. A lot of people don't like the word learning. Somebody in elementary school ruined the word learning for them. I don't know what happened. You could also call it discovery. We came here to discover things about ourselves and eventually remember who we are in a larger way. But in this school, we get presented with lessons, with opportunities to learn, which is what happens when we have an experience. And then emotions come along with the experience. They help us to decode the experience so that we can identify the lesson. Well, since we don't like to change, most people dig in at that point and refuse to change. In fact, as a therapist, I've learned that people don't change until the pain of where they are is so great they think it couldn't be any worse if they made the change. And the pain, interestingly, comes from not changing, from not moving, from holding on, because resistance is what creates the pain, right?
Yeah.
So I have found that once somebody understands that system, and you realize, okay, my life is constantly presenting me with opportunities to discover and grow. And if I don't take them, my pain is going to increase. That's how we end up marrying the same partner 3 times. They may be in a different body, but we have the same experience because we refuse to evolve. But as soon as I know that once I learn a lesson that's presented to me, it's finished, it's over. I don't have to keep doing it. Then you're encouraged. Like people will come into therapy office and they go, "Oh, I know we agreed to do this, that I would do this over the week, and I didn't do it, and I'm so sorry." And I say, "You don't have to apologize to me. It's fine. The universe has presented you with this lesson. Let's just be aware that the lesson's not going away. And the longer you take to learn it, the more pain you're going to be in. And you can take as long as you want to deal with this." And boy, many therapists are concerned. How do you motivate somebody to grow and change? That does it. Oh, that's fine. You'll just be in pain.
Exactly right. Yeah. Yeah. I know that sometimes though that uh, I remember for myself, for example, just thinking about seeking help, going to a therapist, asking for support, that felt like a kind of, well, at first it felt like an admission of being broken. That was the first thing that, although I didn't use those exact words. But the second thing that came up was, how can I be so selfish as to ask for help for myself when I'm supposed to be, giving all this help and support to everyone else? So how do you respond to someone who's maybe struggling with some narcissism or selfishness as you want to encourage them to grow and expand into the fullness of who they really are?
Let me tell you a quick story to answer this question from the 1960s when I was in the School of Social Work at the University of Washington in Seattle. And this was a time of great social upheaval. And so the message in that school was that we budding therapists needed to be change agents.
Mm.
And I was in the student lounge one day by myself, and I started talking out loud, and I said, I'm supposed to be a change agent? I don't even know how to change myself. And I'm so screwed up, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to change myself.
Right.
And I was facing things like that. And finally, I came to the conclusion if I can evolve or change myself and one other person in my lifetime, I'm going to consider that I've done it. And that let me off the hook, and it opened the door so that actually I've helped thousands of people over the last 53 years, and very powerfully. But I think your concern, David, about being broken, I think the therapy system sometimes suggests that you ought to be broken in order to come in. You got to have a mental health problem. And my own approach, I've been fortunate to follow what is known as the growth model, so that I'm saying, listen, there's really nothing wrong with you. You're having a problem because you're not embracing life the way it's supposed to be lived. And you have these lessons to learn. Let me give you an example. I was working with a woman recently whose partner is highly manipulative, and they are busy trying to uh, dissolve their partnership in their business. And the woman was, oh my God, she was all torn, the woman I was working with, all torn up about this until we identified that the issue that she was having with her work partner was incredibly similar to the issue she had with her own mother growing up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we could reframe it to, oh, you see, you didn't learn how to claim your power with your mother. And the way the universe works, they'll bring you somebody who will bring you similar lessons. And it's not that there's something wrong with you or you're a washout. It's that you're being given another chance. And the
Right.
question is, will you take this chance? And be advised, as we talked about, in the introduction here, be advised that when you change yourself, your experience will change. And this woman listened to me. Interestingly, she went to a professional conference in about a week and met the woman in the whole world who had partnered with that same other person before, and suddenly was given the information. It wasn't my client, it was how this woman operated. And so, as soon as we accept, look, I can't change other people, but I can change me, what is this experience offering me that I need to change? It takes us out of being victimized. It takes us into, I can do something here and nobody can take it away from me because it's just me and me. And that's what living from the inside out is all about.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly what it sounds like to me, living from the inside out. Right.
Yeah. And yes, my own story, I asked to go and see a psychotherapist because I wished to understand why I had been behaving and being with the insecurities that I had the way I was. That was my reason for asking to go, which did for me exactly what you're saying. It helped me to start living from the inside out rather than the outside in, to stop
Mhm.
looking for other people to bring me what I hadn't got in my life, what I felt I hadn't had for so many years in my life. But it was never ever going to work. Two ex-husbands, sort of, it wasn't going to work. So I didn't go into it looking for, well, how can I find a new partner? It was actually, how can I find me?
Mhm.
That's
And
the,
you have.
yeah,
So that worked. That
yeah.
worked. Might not have worked for the marriage you were in at the time, but that worked. Congratulations.
But I think, but that's it, isn't it? I think the story for all of us is, how do we find ourselves? And we can't find ourselves from what other people say, what other people do. Sort of, it's not for them to help us find ourselves, it's for ourselves to help us find ourselves. Yes, people can
Right.
support us, but not from a relationship perspective.
Well,
Yes, and
this is
that's
interesting.
where my
How do we find ourselves? Well, we have to start by looking in the right place, don't we? Which is where? Inside.
yeah, yeah. And that's where I have discovered the power of emotions. Emotions are tools. They're constantly helping us to grow, if we will but let them. But of course, we have learned that emotions are out there, or we've learned to own emotions, my anger, my fear. Whereas what I have learned is that emotions are energy. And since most of us have taken basic science in high school, we know that energy can't be created, it can't be destroyed, it has to move, it can be translated or transformed into some other form of energy. And when we start working with emotions in that way, for example, loneliness, we tend to think that loneliness is about, I don't have enough people in my life, I'm all alone. But that's not it. If you think in terms of loneliness as an energy, what loneliness is really telling us is that we've got more energy going out than coming in, meaning, translated, I'm not loving myself enough. And all
Beautiful.
I have to do is give to myself, do something I enjoy doing, do involve myself in a talent that I have, and loneliness will drop away in a matter of minutes. We don't have to keep doing that. And I'm on a crusade here, in writing chapters in books. I'm on a crusade to let people know that emotions are the key to unraveling the pain of our current lives, and also of propelling us into ascension or spiritual growth. Because spiritually, we are beginning to recognize ourselves as energy beings. And if emotions are energy, then they are the fastest way to take us there. So the key is to work with the emotions that come up in me, um, and that's what I wrote my book, Emotions in Motion, about. There are 12 emotions that, and I give the message that they give, like loneliness is telling you have more energy going out than coming in. And my, I'm in the elder part of my life, shall we say, and I'm fully dedicated to offering this information to the world for the rest of my life, because it certainly transformed my life from being a very angry person. And it's time. Take a look at our news reports. We're killing ourselves literally in
Mm.
wars. Holding on to anger is making us physically ill. We've got evidence of that now. And it's time for us all to know about emotions. And to work with emotions, we have to go from the inside out. What am I feeling? What is this trying to tell me? And in terms of selfishness, David, to get back to your comment, this is not about being selfish. Getting to know me and getting me to function better leaves me feeling better about who I am, can even take me to loving myself. And whatever I have inside of me, I broadcast outside of me, which means I'll have love running over. And then the fun part is that whatever I'm having inside of me gets reflected back to me from the world. So that all I have to do is work with the emotions inside of me to make sure I'm feeling loving. And that's what I'm going to be getting from the world. And it's what I'm going to be offering the world. And so far, I haven't discovered a better way to live.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. Now there's a couple of things that you just mentioned that I would like to highlight and maybe tie them together. One, the idea that the work I do on myself, what from the inside I get to express outwardly. And you also talked a moment ago or a couple of moments ago about what the outside world looks like. And many of us, I think, have a desire to change the outside world. So talk a little bit about how doing this work for myself from the inside helps to bring about those kinds of changes that we want to see in the world outside.
So I have this interesting story. I told you I married in my late 50s. I married a man who was a neurosurgeon. He was very, very smart, and he was used to being top of the heap. He was used to having everybody wait until he showed up in the operating room for anybody to do anything. And we all bring our jobs home. So those were a lot of the characteristics that showed up in our marriage in the early months. It's like, here's what I want for dinner. Here's what time I'll be available. Don't come in here. I'm busy. You're interrupting me if he's in his office, those kinds of things. And it didn't take me very long, maybe a couple, 3 months, I started thinking, this is the most self-centered man I have ever been around in my life. What was I thinking? And then I reminded myself going inside, wait a minute, everything is about learning. I married this person. I selected him. And by the way, he's not any different than he was when I was dating him. I'm just wanting him to behave differently, right? And so it led me to start looking at what the heck was really going on with him. And what I realized, and I was looking at it in energy terms, it was like I saw an energy vortex. I saw this circle of energy centered in him. And all he did in his life was stay in his own circle of energy, his own energy vortex. He operated from there, and he'd been doing it all of his life. So it looked like he was self-centered, but really he was just living his life the way he had always lived it, and it was based on him. And as he pointed out to me one time, if I'm cutting on your brain, you want me to be centered in myself. You want me to believe that I can do what I'm doing, which was certainly true. But then I said, okay, so he has an energy vortex. What's my problem? Start looking inside of myself. And what I realized was that I did not have an energy vortex. Based on the events of my early life, plus being a woman in the world, what I had learned to do was supplement the other people in my life, to take care of them, give my power and my energy to them. And
Interesting.
I realized that in the relationship with this man, that wasn't going to work. And so I decided to build my own energy vortex. And I didn't know how to do it. I had to experiment, but mostly it was like, okay, what's going to work for me? What do I need? Do I want to stay here for this? How do I want to put this, etc. So I concentrated on me for a period of time. It made our relationship a little rocky for a while because he clearly wasn't ready to have other people, unless they were fellow neurosurgeons. He wasn't ready to have them have equal power. but it's what it gave me. And once we got there, it made our relationship work well for both of us.
Beautiful.
And so that's the power of putting working on yourself. And it wasn't self-centered. Our relationship got better, but I did have to focus on myself for a while because I was the one who needed to change, or who did what it was best. I mean, I didn't have to change, but I knew that was the solution once I understood living from the inside out.
Yeah, I really like that. Thank you for that. That's beautiful, Ilene.
Thank you.
Ilene, thank you so much for sharing with us. And I'd like to obviously thank the audience for watching and attending our sort of speakers. And our speakers has got a gift. Ilene's got a gift. Incorporate the 7 skills of love into your life. Loving involves art and skill. For you, I've created an annotated list of the 7 skills of love, which you can work into the fabric of your own life, where it can reside forever. These skills can be used with those we love and want to love even more, and with our own selves as we energize and develop love for all of us. So, beautiful gift. Thank you, Ilene.
Yeah, that sounds really awesome. So
those skills changed my life. I came across them in 1994. They're with Concept Synergy. I was asked to write some short books for parents to help them teach their children to work with emotions. And that's when I learned about love and was invited to make a decision to live my life based on love. And those skills made it possible for me to do that. So I'm hoping they will help whoever wants to have them, who's watching also.
Right. Well, of course, that gift is available. You'll find the link in the show notes below and also in the video itself. So please, if you're interested in that, go grab it. I think this is another one of these wonderful gifts that our authors are offering. Ilene, again, thank you so much for being here. You've already shared an awful lot from your heart, from your soul, from your beautiful presence. Is there one final gift of wisdom that you'd like to share before we close this recording?
Again, I've been offering. Let me see. What is it that I noticed this in our book, that a lot of us talk about loving yourself. And I also touch on it because once you love yourself, you can be in loving relationships. And in my chapter, I talk about the fact that we live longer and happier when we have deep personal relationships. And so the loving yourself is totally not selfish. And it's something we get away from. What 2 or 3-year-old have you ever met who says, "Oh my gosh, this is going to bother you if I wake you up in the middle of the night because I want something"? They don't,
Right.
because when we when we arrive here on the earth, we are filled with self-love, and then we slowly have it eroded away. And so, if you're a parent, pay attention to helping your child maintain love for themselves. And
Right.
as an adult, decide that the most important person to love in your life is your own self. And when you are full of love, you will also be full of love for your world. And that is a key point of living from the inside out.
Oh, that's beautiful. And I know Sara has a wonderful little phrase to help people remember that. Do you want to say what that is, Sara?
I'm just trying to think what it is.
Well, okay. Let me quote Sara here. You are the love of your life.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It
Yes.
was something that came to me when I was working with somebody. It was just like, and the words were, "I am the love of my life." And that is exactly what we should be, the love of our own lives.
I agree. What a
Yeah.
great way to end this program. So thank you, Sara, for being here, and thank you, Ilene, for sharing your wisdom, and thank you, audience members, for watching and paying attention. Thanks for being part of our Gifts of Wisdom community.
And thank you, David, for all that you have put into this book. You are an incredible team leader, and we all know it, and we all appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.